Once again, I want to express to you my deepest appreciation for joining me today on our Daily Dose. As far as update on my health condition in the last 24 hours or so, not a lot has changed other than you may remember I had requested no visitors as of yesterday, and the doctors had recommended that. I finally went along with it, finally agreed, and that really helped. I got a great deal of rest yesterday as a result of that. I was able to rest last night. Because of that, much of my blood work that was giving us some problem, my sodium levels, my dehydration, my potassium, my sugar even, has kind of gotten back into control. So I'm feeling so much better today. And at the end of the day, I'll admit, I kind of regretted that decision. I regretted not having the people filing in and out as they had been the last, really, I guess about 13 days or so. Nearly every day I've had visitors. And I regretted that because I enjoy the camaraderie and the company. But nevertheless, I needed it. And so I appreciate that. And hopefully we'll lift that no visitors thing pretty quick and we'll get back to my daily life as I want to have it. I mentioned yesterday that when my nurses bring in my cards every morning, they often bring them in bound in a very large rubber band. They do that because I get several cards. As a matter of fact, I don't know how many there are on my walls, but I've already begun to plaster the walls around the room, and the front of an entire cabinet nearly is covered now with cards. And I didn't even receive my mail today. That was about 2.5 days of cards right there. And I appreciate each and every one of them. And if you send a card or if you plan to send one, I'm going to tell you up front, I really appreciate that. It does make my day, and it's something special. It's a small and insignificant thing, you might think, but it means a lot to me. And so I appreciate that. But out of the cards that I received yesterday, I received one that stood out in my mind as soon as I read it. And it's not necessarily because of the words the person wrote in that. It's not necessarily because the card was better crafted or anything than some of the others, but it's simply because of what was inside. I have received a card from the Tim York family of Summerville, Georgia, and I don't believe that I know who this is, and I apologize if you're watching and you're saying, I know you, Jim, and you ought to know me. I apologize for that, but I can't place your face or know who you are, but I appreciate what was in the card. Because after they made just a brief comment about, I hope these scriptures that you find can encourage you, they went through and made a card, a very nice card, mind you, but with a series of scriptures in it. All of these encouraging verses. I believe there are about 10 or so of them. And as I began to move through them, I thought, you know, these are verses that I don't typically think about. I don't typically notice when I read my Bible, but I know they're there, and they are encouraging. Maybe they're encouraging to you, and I hope they are, because over the course of the next few days or perhaps a week and a half or so, we're going to use them for our daily dose. The very first one that you find in the card, if you open it, comes from Psalm chapter 27 and verse 14. Let me see what the Bible says there. Here the Bible says, and wait on the Lord. Be of good courage, and he shall strengthen thine heart. Wait, I say, on the Lord. Now, when we read across that word wait, W-A-I-T, we think about maybe waiting to receive a package in the mail. We think about waiting in a doctor's office with some level of apprehensiveness, wondering how the test is going to turn out, wondering if our loved one is going to be diagnosed with a terrible disease or whatever it is. But that's not really the word here. The word wait here from the Hebrew language literally means to bind or to assemble together. And so what the psalmist is truly saying in this, and just to reread the passage, he says, to bind on the Lord. Assemble yourself with the Lord. And in doing that, then he adds, be of good courage, and he, that's God, shall strengthen thine heart. Wait, he says, and then he adds, I say, on the Lord. Friends, it's as if the last phrase there, I say, wait on the Lord, as if we're having to be constantly reminded, and I am, perhaps you are, but it's as if we're having to be constantly reminded. It's God that we ought to wait on. It's God to whom we ought to bind ourselves. It's God to whom we ought to assemble, and with him, and in doing that, we will find strength, particularly strength in heart. Now, after reading that passage, it immediately led me to another that I was familiar with. This one's found in Isaiah chapter 40 and verse 31. Here the Bible says, but they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and faint not. Again, the same word. Again, here Isaiah saying, Isaiah 40 and verse 31, a similar thing to what the psalmist said, Psalm 27 and verse 14. Because he says, when you wait on the Lord, you'll be strengthened. When you wait on the Lord, you'll receive that as an eagle would. When you wait on the Lord, you'll run and you'll not be weary. You will be able to walk and not faint. Friends, when you find yourself in weakness, why not wait on the Lord? When you find yourself struggling in life, dealing with difficulties, and that's all this program is about, reminding us how to do that, taking biblical knowledge in order to know how. If you'll wait, if you'll bind yourself to the Lord, assemble together with Him. Now, our friends and family matter. They're great at supporting us. But at the end of the day, when all is said and done, our binding together with God is going to outweigh by far any human relationships. So join with the Lord today. Be strengthened. Mount up as if you will, like an eagle, and be able to soar. I hope that you've been encouraged. This has been our Daily Dose.